Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we have some wrongs and lies again by the media, and going on what they're saying about the actual African American studies and what Ron DeSantis is doing to the African people and stuff like that. Well, let's see here. We have what we would know is that the actual racism towards white people is at an all-time high, and it's probably going to get worse until we start removing CRT and all this other stuff in there. And I understand what some people are saying, that like, okay, well, CRT in general is not supposed to be bad. It's supposed to, help people understand Black history and stuff like that. Yes, but the thing is that they're using CRT as a guise to teach people horribly. I may believe there is a woman that was in California on what CRT is actually doing, and it's not being what it's supposed to. In fact, CRT is teaching kids to actually hate one another and stuff like that. I may even go into the actual video very briefly from California Insider to where exactly what they're talking about with like what CRT is doing to kids and stuff like that. Because it's not a really a good thing. It's definitely a negative thing. So here's this video clip of Ashley Mitchell, I think that's what her full name is, Andrea Mitchell, talking to Kamala Harris about, what DeSantis is doing to Black kids and AP and stuff like that, and some interesting stuff that Kamala Harris is saying about not having parents' choice to what kids say. So, yeah, take a look at this.
What does Governor Ron DeSantis not know about Black history and the Black experience when he says that slavery and the aftermath of slavery should not be taught to Florida school children?
I don't know what he knows and what he doesn't know, but I know this. Any push to censor America's teachers and tell them what they should be teaching in the best interest of our children in partnership with the parents of America is, I think, wrong-headed.
And a postscript. In my interview last Friday with Vice President Harris, I was imprecise in summarizing Governor DeSantis' position about teaching slavery in schools. Governor DeSantis is not opposed to teaching the fact of slavery in schools, but he has opposed the teaching of an African-American studies curriculum, as well as the use of some authors and source materials that historians and teachers say makes it all but impossible for students to understand the broader historic and political context behind slavery and its aftermath in the years since.
Racial discrimination, and you're thinking like, okay, and why are they doing that? They're doing that to try to create a narrative. They're not doing that because Florida has a law or anything like that. They know that's not in the law, but they're doing it because they know there's enough people in corporate media who will just take that and will run with that. So we've got all these examples cataloged of basically media lies to try to do the hoax. A lot of this has been debunked. The Jacksonville person got fired. There's a teacher in Central Florida that was doing really inappropriate things in terms of what they were putting out online. So that's gone. And so at the end of the day in Florida, if it's explicit and pornographic, parents have the right to object, and it should be taken off. And then in terms of issues involving American history, it's very clear in Florida standards that we are required to teach all aspects of Black history, not queer theory, but actual aspects of Black history, including MSNBC, slavery and its aftermath, and including and required also to teach about the discrimination. So that is in the law. And so when they're trying to say they have to take a Roberto Clemente book or something like that, they are lying to you. And it's one thing for a stooge who's a partisan apparatchik that may be in like a teacher union to try to do this, but to have corporate media not immediately shoot that down, because all you have to do is look up our standards. Very easy to do. And so it's really just a reckless disregard for what the truth actually is. And the good news about it is, I think because of the lack of guardrails on some of this stuff in terms of being able to do private suits, the standard has gotten lower and lower. The preparation has gotten worse, fact checking has gotten worse, all that stuff. But what it's done is it's created a situation where the vast majority of the people know that this is an agenda that's trying to be imposed on them. They know these are narratives, and so they don't typically believe it anymore. And I think that a lot of those outlets only have themselves to.
Yes, and that pretty much explains what they're doing with Black history and stuff like that, and I 100% agree. Now, I will say that finding this information is extraordinarily difficult, mostly when you go to the Florida website. And I can kind of show you guys and navigate a little bit on what I mean by that, because Ron DeSantis explains exactly what it is, right? And one of the big things that I would say that that is an issue that that Kamala Harris said is that the parents should not have the right or the ability to control or show what their kids should be able to learn. Well, then at that point, Kamala Harris, then why is there pornographic stuff in the schools right now? And that's what Ron DeSantis is trying to remove. You want the teachers to show all these pornographic stuff to kids. Oh, why? Because you're actively saying this. And you're saying this also as well, is that Democrats want pornographic stuff shown to kids, all this other stuff shown to kids, and for what reason? This is what I'm talking about, like that people need to do their research, because they just don't understand what the Democrats' full agenda is. Every time when you vote for a Democrat, at least in this current time, you're getting these very woke ideologies where they want to push queer or LGBTQ or even pornography stuff onto their kids. And that's just the reality of things too, where people just need to start to understand. And here's a bigger thing that you guys may not know or have an understanding to as well, to where this is just a clip or a showing, not really a clip, but this is kind of the look of what they're doing to at school. This is from Libs of TikTok. Now, granted, this is a screenshot, but you may have you. So this is a graphic middle school stuff to where what they're doing to kids in particular. Luckily, there's not too indecent stuff because this is mostly all the bad stuff is mostly blocked. But yeah, so this is what pretty much saying is middle school and Broward School offers a pornographic book flamer to students. The book discusses masturbation, watching porn, and it has graphic depictions of sexual acts. This is what they're giving to 12-year-olds to read in school. This is Broward schools. So at the end of the day, guys, this is what we're talking about in this world, right? Where you have this reality to where this is what the schools are pushing, and then the Democrats actively keep on pushing for this type of BS, right? So Kamala Harris, if you in this aspect are seeing schools push these pornography books and what have you in schools, and you don't want parents to have the ability to control what their kids are taught and seen at school, and just allow the teachers to put this stuff. So you're saying that you're allowing teachers to show pornography to kids. That's just straight up. And of course, the person that wants to backtrack and say like, oh, well, that's not what she's talking about. Yes, that's exactly what you're talking about. You're talking about this. It's not a lie. So we're going to go to this in particular right here and kind of show you guys what's going on. So this is from, obviously, Senator Manny Diaz. And it says, concerns found within college board submitted AP African American Studies course. It says, topic intersectionality and activism. Intersectionality is foundational to CRT and ranks people based on their race, wealth, gender, and sexual orientation. Included reading Kimberly Crenshaw, known as the founder of intersectionality, co-editor of critical race theory, the key writings that formed the movement, Angela Davis, self-avowed communist and Marxist. Topic 4.19, Black Queer Studies, included reading Roderick Ferguson, who exclaims we have to encourage and develop practices whereby queerness isn't a surrender to the status quo of race, class, gender, and sexuality. It means building forms of queerness that reject that given realities of the government and the market. Topic 4.29, Movements for Black Lives. The Movement for Black Lives is an organization which stated objectives that included eliminating prisons and jails, ending pretrial detention, and concluding the war on black, trans, queer, gender non-conforming, and intersex people. Included reading Leslie J.K. Jones, who wrote, everyday black people produce an unquantifiable amount of content for the same social media corporations that reproduce the white supremacist substructures that oppress us. And then you have the Black feminist literary thought, included reading bell hooks, author of many intersectional texts, and in the recommended readings text states, I began to use the phrase in my work, white supremacist capitalist patriarchy, because I wanted to have some language that would actually remind us continually of the interlocking systems of domination that define our reality. Topic 4.30 says the reparation movement. All points and resources in the study advocate for reparations. There is no critical perspective or balancing opinion in this lesson. And topic 4.31, Black Study and Black Struggle in the 21st Century. Included, Robin D.G. Kelly argues that activism rather than university system is a catalyst for social transformation. Kelly's first book was Study of Black Communists in Alabama. Kelly warns that simply establishing safe spaces and renaming campus buildings does nothing to overthrow capitalism. And so that's one of the biggest topics here, alright? Then we have DeSantis' office says he will boycott NBC over Andrea Mitchell question on black history. It goes on to say here, the lie that DeSantis' camp is protesting is question Mitchell put to Vice President Harris last week, in which she asked, what does Governor Ron DeSantis know about black history and the black experience when he says that slavery and the aftermath of slavery should not be taught to Florida school children? And I understand this is from The Hill, so we're taking everything that they say with a grain of salt here. Mitchell later said that her question was improvised, did not apologize. The Hill has reached out to NBC for further comment. Griffin and said NBC and its affiliates must display a consistent track record of truthful reporting before DeSantis, who had an often recommended relationship with the mainstream media, agrees to future appearances. Last year, DeSantis signed into law the Stop Woke Act, which prohibited the teaching of critical race theory in Florida schools, as well as lessons about historical topics in ways that would make someone feel personally responsible for their past wrong based on their own race, sex, and or natural origin. Critics say the measure unfairly limits the teaching of subjects such as the Civil War and the Jim Crow era. DeSantis garnered further outrage from Democrats and activists after his administration earlier this year rejected the Advanced Placement African Studies course launched by the college board, criticizing the course as lacking educational value. The DeSantis administration objected to topics including black queer studies, intersectionality, the reparation movement, blah, 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 what we talked about already. And the college board later released 8 changes to the AP course that aligned with DeSantis' criticisms, but claimed that the changes were not due to the governor's influence. DeSantis has yet to say if that state will accept this course as amended. So, that's pretty much it. And guys, I think what I will do, since this video is already long, I will post a very brief clip of the California Insider on what's going on, what the actual thing is. Because what I'm telling you is that, this is kind of what's happening in California with CRT, and this kind of needs to be explained a bit more because it's a huge issue. So, take a look.
It was originally a very niche political sub-school thought of political science. It's not necessarily a rigorous academic discipline. It introduces an analytical perspective to analyze social relations, local governance, and political outcomes through racism. It may be applicable before the civil rights movement, but in today's society, looking at our society, our country, and our world through this racialized framework is not practical. It promotes a very narrow worldview that you are either a victim or you are the oppressor by virtue of your skin color. It's essentially racial stereotyping and racial discrimination. It encourages our students, our very impressionable youth, to look at themselves and their peers through the prism of race. So everything they see, the lenses that they apply to their analysis is racialized, and that's dangerous.
You think it seems positive, but that's not what this course is about.
So what was this like?
So a privilege quiz is basically asking the kids questions that are very carefully chosen and then ranking them by privilege against their classmates, just already dividing our students. So to say that you're privileged because of these 10 questions we chose is just so wrong. So we're putting this message into our kids that they're either oppressed or privileged at their most formative years of their life. And I think it's criminal.
So then what will happen after that?
So the goal is to classify America or the US as a racist country, including the Constitution, say that that document was created by racists, our country was founded on racism, so we need a...
So there you have it. It's just this is what CRT is now. And I think that everybody needs to start realizing that this is not really a good thing for our country. It's very bad. And this is what the woke left, the Democrats kind of want you to see. And don't get me wrong, as I will say many times, the Republican Party is not great. It is definitely not perfect. But the thing is, if I have to choose between protecting children or maybe a few bad individuals that's in the Republican Party that I don't necessarily agree with, and even the laws, I will have to choose the Republican Party. I have to choose a lesser of the evil. And right now, the Democrat Party are the more evil than the Republican Party. And these people need to be stopped at some point. So at this point, you got to choose them. And then after that, maybe building something else that will maybe represent the people more than these two parties. Alright guys, that's it for the video. Like, subscribe, share, and always take care.